Okay, so there it is, guys. I went ahead and spread that bucket of smectite that I had. I took the hose and took it over there and put it up against the block. And yeah, so let me turn the water on and let's make sure that the force of the water is not digging into the ground. And yeah, so we have to make sure that the hose doesn't tear into the ground and move that smectite powder out of the way, and then it doesn't seal. Let's find out what happens. Well, it seems like we have a leak. Water's coming out, gathering at the bottom of this thing a little bit. It's a good thing it's the hose that's leaking. So hopefully the pond will be okay. Yeah, we'll see what happens at the end of the day. Started this thing at 10:30 a.m. and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I went down there and checked it, and actually it moved very little. I thought it had moved a lot, but no. It's slamming up against the block there. And now let it run and see what happens. Now what I'm going to do, once the water level gets to a safe point where it's deep enough, then I can transfer the water that is in those 4 tanks right there, which is 5, 6, 7, and 8. Right now they're empty, with the exception of a long time ago when I had fish in number 8. I forgot the water and it spilled over to number 7, to number 6, to number 5, and along with it went small fish and other big. So what I want to do is I want to first of all empty that water to get the fish out, but I also want to put in new water because that water's been in there for a while. So I think what I want to do is use that water in here. So since we'll lose, and I'm hoping we don't, but we'll lose some of that water to the bottom not being quite sealed and all that stuff. So we'll put it in there, and that's the dirty water, and then that'll go down, and then I'll fill it. So hopefully it takes no more than 3 times like it did last time. So yeah, and then what I'll do is we'll take this this water here and we'll let it run all night if we have to, but we need to seal this thing as quickly as possible and then let it sit. This water here, as some of you well know, has a lot of rust, so we need to let that rust settle. And that was one of the things I mentioned in the last video, is I was thinking about putting some chlorine in there and shock that water and get that rust to come down. There's 2 ways to release it from the water. One is through oxygenation, and that pump right there will add oxygen and release a lot of that rust that's in there. And then the second, you have to have chlorine to release the remaining rust. So hopefully somebody out there will send me a comment and let me know their experiences with dumping some bleach in here, and hopefully it's good news. So yeah, now later on, every time I add water, it'll come out of this well right here, and that's got a lot of rust. Now I do have that house back there in the back is it's got a big gigantic filter, and it forces the water through some charcoal and manganese and I don't know, sand, gravel, all kinds of stuff. And it does do a very good job, but it would take an eternity to filter that much water to put in here, so I won't do that. So hopefully I can add a little bit of bleach and get some of that so that it sits there and the water becomes crystal clear to begin with. Then as we go and we add some well water and add some fish and they start pooping and what have you, then of course the water will become a little darker and yeah, go from there. There's nothing you could do about that. All right, guys, I will update you on whether this pond sealed, semi-sealed, or did not seal at all. But I'm confident that it will seal because this stuff is already proven from when it was first dug. And this time around we spread this stuff between Woon doing an outstanding job last night in the dark to me going and adding that last bucket where I thought it should go. I think it will seal. It is very well covered, and this stuff that we put in here is for something that's 4 times the size of this, so there should be plenty of stuff there to seal it. So yeah, we'll go from there. Let me just look over the berm here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's already starting to move a little bit down this way. And initially, it takes a good many hours to cover the bottom because it's not only leaking through wherever, but it's also getting into cracks like right there on the wall. You have them on the floor also, so it has to cover all the spaces, and yeah, go from there. All right, guys, bye. Okay, guys, so I'm refilling the pond and it looks like it's going well, but let me tell you, it has been a tremendous effort, very frustrating, but it's slowly getting there. The first day, this is day 3. The first day, I started over there by the pump. And I had a 1-inch water hose going in there because my idea was to slowly get the bottom wet and yeah, see what happened. Well, it ran for 7 hours and I barely had a little area there, about maybe 6 feet away from that pump. It did not go past that corner there, and yeah, that was not very good. So the following day I ran this pipe and I put this cement tub to catch the water, and yeah, it filled up most of the bottom here, but it did not get back to the pump. Oh no, this is the 4th day, because I had one day that I decided to just let it sit there and kind of settle or whatever. So then what I did, let me go back. no more than 6 feet from there the first day. Went out this way, and the water got to about that corner there on the second day. The third day I let it sit. This is the fourth day. So on the fourth day, I decided that I was going to use that flexible hose there. And what I did is I put it inside this tub so it wouldn't dig into the ground, into the bottom. A little while ago I went to eat breakfast and that hose became unanchored, and this is what it did. It ate a hole on here, and it had just happened because that water is pretty powerful, so it doesn't take long to do that. So anyway, right now it's doing very well. It has gone behind the water pump there, and yeah, now this, once you get the bottom, this is my thinking, once you get the bottom holding water or semi holding water or something, the side should be easier because behind this, all this excavation that they did here is existing berm. So even if it goes, if the water goes through and saturates these sides, eventually it'll hit what was there before, and it should hold, or at least that's my thinking. So I am praying and hoping that by the end of today I'll have water closer to this little step here, and yeah, and even if it goes away overnight, it'll be a little bit better, because this here, as soon as I turn on the pump, it doesn't take long for that water to start filling the bottom, so that tells me that it's holding a little bit better. Now this stuff that we put on here, as the water comes up, it gets it wet, and it turns it into like a glue type stuff, and hopefully the idea is that whatever's leaking will draw this stuff down into those cracks or whatever, and it fills up and holds. All right, I'll let you know as I go by. Let me go check the pump, because the tank that I'm pumping right now is almost empty. So we'll go from there. All right, guys. Okay, guys, so there it is. I turned off the pump. It's 12:30, but I've got the well running into those tanks over there. So what I have to do is I've got 3 tanks that are pretty much empty. Not quite. One of them is about half, and the other one's like a quarter and stuff, because there might be some fish in there. So until I get ready to clean the tank, I'm not going to pump all the water out. So anyway, I turned off the pump, and maybe this afternoon, late evening, if the tanks are somewhat on the full side, maybe I'll run that pump from the tank into here. But in the meantime, the idea is for it to sit here and let the ground soak, and hopefully the smectite, that snotty gluey stuff, gets into whatever's leaking, and this afternoon about 5:30. We'll see how much water it held or if it's all gone. But either way, we're gonna have to do it step by step until it fills up. So, yeah. All right, we'll see what happens this evening. Later. Okay, guys. So here it is. It's about 5:30 in the afternoon, and the water level did come up a lot. It was able to get up to where it was pumping water, but I already turned off the pump in the tank because it's empty. So what I'm going to do, I was going to leave the water hose here, but I think that the level will go down faster than what this thing will put in here. So I will take this hose and fill up the tanks so that tomorrow again I can very quickly dump those tanks in here, because the whole thing is it's got to be done quick, otherwise it just slowly drains down. But yeah, because if I leave the hose running here, that means that the tanks are empty in there, and it'll take a day to fill it up. So I think I'm going to do that. Concentrate on filling up the tanks in here. Let this water go down to whatever level it goes, even if it's 100% gone, but at least the smectite is finding its way to the little crevices and stuff. Yeah, so that's what I think we'll do. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Well, so there it is. Slowly but surely the level is coming up, but I have to stop pumping because the tanks are out of water. So right now it's about 11 o'clock. I'm gonna have to spend the rest of the day filling up the tanks. Now the reason I'm using the tanks is because the 3 horsepower pump can put the water in here faster than if I use the 1 horsepower well. Yeah, so I will fill up those tanks, and then tomorrow's another day. All right. Okay, guys. So here we are, still trying to fill the pond. So we had this thing redug about 2 weeks ago. So that was like March 16th.
Yeah.
And today is the 2nd of April. So yeah, roughly about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that whenever you mention something, you jinx it and it doesn't work. So when we had this thing built, and it went from that side deep and then shallow on this end, so there was a lot less sand exposed, and it took about 3 times filling this thing to have it hold the water. Well, let me tell you,
We fill up with orange.
this fill up here is number 6, and as you can see, we're using orange water.
Orange juice.
Orange juice, yeah. The well has a lot of rust, as you can see. But that is not my concern because we're going to wait a couple of weeks before we put the fish in there so all this will settle. However, I'm having a hard time having this thing hold. This is the first time that the water has actually gone over the edge. And as you can see, it's coming right here. When they made this thing, they didn't make this very level. As you can see on that side, that's a lot higher than this. But this is a lot higher than the rest of it. And that's okay, because we had this thing dug to the same level as that, so it's deep all the way from one end to the other. So yeah, so I'm hoping that this time it'll be a little bit better. And one of the problems that I'm having is, of course, it's not holding the water, but we have 4 empty tanks here and 4 empty tanks on that side with fish. So what I do is I fill in all these 4 and then pump them in here. And the reason I do that is because you've got to get the water in here as quickly as possible. Otherwise, you know, if you use this right here is to refill the water as it goes. If you do that, it will not keep up with the leaking of the water. So you've got to, right now, I've got that pipe right there pumping from number 4 or number 5 way down there at the end. So as you can see, it's coming up. If you look right there, you'll see the water bubbling there. Yeah. So I have already tried before. We had filled this thing up. Right here, there's a water pump. We had filled it up to the top of that water pump, and then I left the hose running all night. It could not keep up with it. That was on fill up number 3. So right now we're on number 6, and the way it looks, it's gonna take a few more because it's just not holding as much water as I needed to hold. Now, it is holding a lot of water though, because you can fill it up and 12 hours later it has gone down some, but it still has a lot of water. Now, it takes about a day to fill up those 4 tanks. So yesterday there was no water added to it. So within a 24-hour period, that pump is sitting on 4 blocks, and it had gone down 1 block past the pump, which is still a lot of water. So I mean, it's coming along, but whew, it's not fast enough. All right, we'll continue to fill and refill and refill, and hopefully one of these days it'll hold sooner than later, because it takes a lot of water and a lot of energy to fill these tanks and then pump them over here. And yeah. All right, guys, I'll let you know what else happens. Thanks for watching.
ขอบคุณเจ้า
See you next time.
แล้วฟ้ากันแฮมไมนะเจ้า
See you.
บ๊ายบาย